Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and we got another first class guest up in the building today. But before we continue, let me remind everybody that we are live in Braveview Studios in Garfield, New Jersey. Shout out to Marby on the glass. Shout out to Najee. Hope you're doing well, brother, wherever you are. And before we go introduce our guests, I also want to remind everybody, if you're not aware already, and you should, is that I am now the official co-host of the 2 a.m. crew, along with Rick H, nonstop New York sports talk. If you're into sports talk, especially in the New York area, be sure to check us out every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube and all streaming platforms. You don't want to miss it. Yes, indeed. All right, now we got that out of the way, and I'm very, very excited for my guest here because, as I mentioned before, not only are they first class, but this is somebody that goes way back into my days. I mean, I'm talking about when I was still figuring out what the hell I was going to do with my life, and she was one of the people that was trying to get me into the right direction and prepare me for the world and so on and so forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Nora Termanini is in the building. What is going on, Nora?
Man, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm still getting a little bit used to calling you Nora because I've called you
Yeah,
Professor.
please call me Nora.
I'm just so used to calling you Professor for all that time.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's such a long time ago. My goodness.
but little backstory. You were my professor in psychology at PCCC at the time.
So I started my teaching career essentially at PCCC. Many people
Right.
don't do. I teach high school now.
Yeah.
But when I first started, I was teaching at PCCC, and I loved it. Honestly, I loved it. But eventually, I had to like get hired full time and work somewhere full time, not adjuncting. So I decided to go into high school, which I absolutely love now too. So
Yeah, it's just crazy because thanks to social media, you're able to reconnect with people that you haven't heard or seen from in a long time. I mean,
Right.
even with my dad, like God rest his soul, but I remember when he had finally got his first smartphone. He came to the party extremely late. And then my cousin Sylvia, shout out to Sylvia, she showed him how to do Facebook, or use Facebook rather. And next thing you know, he started getting in touch with all of his soccer buddies from back in the day.
Yeah.
And this is around the time where he was like virtually friendless. Like he was just kind of
virtually friendless.
and I don't mean that, and I don't mean that facetiously. I mean, but it's the truth. I mean, he became the epitome of an introvert. I mean, his life was just work and home. That's it. No outside life, no social life. And then Mark Zuckerberg entered the chat and introduced them all again to his old soccer buddies and got to live out the rest of his days hanging out with his friends that he hadn't seen in forever. So I just say that to say that that it's amazing what social media can do. It has its pros and cons, but in this case, I think it's definitely a pro.
No, it definitely connected us. And when you reached out to me, I'm like, he looks familiar, and I couldn't figure out what. I'm like, did I go to high school with him? And then when you said, did you work at PCC? I'm like, oh my God, I remembered you. I was like, I remember this. He was my student, and we talked, and I remember this. So yeah.
You had the long curly hair that was like all the way to your lower back.
It's my hair isn't curly now. I guess that changed over time. It's like wavy. I lost my curls. But going back to Facebook, it's funny because in summer of 2005, I was in Montclair State University sitting. It was the summertime. Yeah. I was taking statistics. Why I would take statistics in a 3-week course was like, I don't know why I did that to myself. It was a very difficult class. But I'm sitting there and we had a break, and then one of the girls next to me was on a computer. She was using Facebook. And I was like, what is she using? Like, what is that? So I asked her, and she starts telling me about Facebook, and I'm like, I would never, why would anybody want to just put their make their information public and go out there like that? But this is the time where Facebook was only for college students.
Yeah.
So you had to have the EDU address
Mm-hmm.
to like access Facebook. So it connected us with our peers, different colleges, and that's how it began. And then eventually they opened it up to companies, and then I think everybody else was just able to have a Facebook.
Yeah.
So, but you bumped the mic.
That's okay. So as I do on the show very often, I Tarantino the shit out of this. And what I mean by that is usually the show starts at the middle and then it comes to the ending and all the way to the beginning. It's all over the place. It's very nonlinear. So now that we got that out of the way, let's focus on my guest at hand, which is yourself. I want to know a little bit more about you because, as I mentioned, we're here in Garfield, New Jersey, and this is a little bit of a homecoming to you. You're not originally from this country, but when you came here, this was your stomping grounds.
Right. So I was born in Syria. My mom brought my brother and I here. I thought it was 6 and 7, but she actually told me, no, you guys were like 4 and 5. So we lived actually 185 Outwater Lane. So I looked at the building and I was driving here and all these memories start coming back with my brother and I. So I definitely have to call him after this and just tell him, like, you remember when we did this? So the school we went to doesn't exist anymore. It's just not there. I just saw, I guess they demolished the building. Then across the street here, the supermarket, I think it was a Grand Union, I want to say, or a Pathmark eventually. I don't remember exactly.
I couldn't tell you.
But we would walk because we didn't have a car. My dad had the car. He would have to go to work. So my mom would walk with 3 kids and we would walk to Pathmark, do our grocery shopping and walk back. Then there was a Kmart, I remember, where my dad would take me when he got home.
I do remember the Kmart, yes.
Yeah, there was a Kmart. And then my dad would get home like 11 o'clock at night because he worked at an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
So, and he would take me to go buy Barbies. So like
Mm.
that was like my thing. He was like, "Come on, today is like the day. Let's go get Barbie." So because it was a 24-hour Walmart. I mean
Yeah.
Kmart. And yeah, so I'm getting all these memories back to me. There was a pizzeria. It's no longer there anymore.
Mm.
So it's interesting to be back. So it's like the first podcast I'm invited onto, and it
Yeah.
takes me back to my roots, which is crazy.
Look at that. I
Yeah,
mean,
so even though we're connecting here, that we knew each other on PCCC,
right.
but you're connecting me back to like way back. I mean, when I first like entered this country, where I didn't even speak English,
Yeah.
and I learned. I thought I just shared with you off camera that I learned English listening to Madonna,
Hmm.
Metallica, Paula Abdul, singing songs I had no business in singing at that very young age.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my
Well, hey,
history.
well, listen, I mean, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but
Mm,
I've had moments where if I surround myself around the culture, I learn
yeah,
enough. Like I remember
code
when,
switch.
yeah, it's almost like when reggaeton was like the biggest thing in music. And, my father actually told me like, well, I don't like you learning that kind of Spanish, but as long as you're learning Spanish, it is what it
Right.
is. And then there was a time where I was working in an Italian restaurant, ironically,
Yeah,
where I worked with a lot of Peruvians in the kitchen. And the more I hung out with them, the more my Spanish was getting very,
better. Yeah.
yeah, better. And then they ended up firing me and then I lost it. So,
Well, it's interesting. When I go back to Syria, like I speak Arabic, but I don't speak it frequently,
mhm,
right? So I'm always speaking English. Obviously, it's my first language now.
yeah,
But when I go back to Syria, 2 days, 3 days there, and then that's it. I like switch back. Somehow my brain picks up that I'm back in Syria,
mhm.
and I can speak the language fluently there.
That's
So it's
also interesting
interesting.
because my best friend of 30 plus years, he's actually in the military, he's in the army,
Hmm.
and the entire year of 2024, he was actually in Syria.
Oh wow,
He was deployed there, and I think he's actually going to be deployed again in January 2026.
wow,
So,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay,
so I
I'll have to
mean,
send him a list to bring back if he can access some goods for me to bring.
yeah, so obviously I got his point of view from a militaristic standpoint, an American standpoint.
No.
I mean, but you are actually from the country. I mean, what can you tell me like what is it like
Well,
over
the
there?
consensus is now
The
that
consensus, yes.
everybody is happy that obviously Bashar was removed.
Hmm.
But now it's up in the air. We really don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in the Middle East. We don't know what's happening with Syria now. I know we have a leader. Everyone seems to be happy with him, but we'll see how that's going to play out. And I think like everything else, it'll take time before we know anything because
Yeah.
I'm sure all these different parties are going to come up now, and everyone's going to have their perspective on how a country should be run. But it's looking like it's going to be a democracy. But we'll see. I mean, honestly, we'll see. When I was younger, I didn't really focus on politics. I had no idea.
Right, yeah.
But I do have a time. I remember I think 11 years old because one of the things my parents always wanted to instill in my brother and me
Hmm.
was we have to go back to Syria. Like they never wanted us to lose our Syrian roots. Now my mom back home was a teacher and my dad was a lawyer. So for them, they really struggled. Like, do we give up our career that we worked so hard for to come to America? So when we came here the first time, my mom didn't like it. Actually, my mom never liked it really to begin with. To this day, she probably doesn't really like it. My parents still talk about Syria as if they're like gonna live there and as if they live there now. But nevertheless, so we came here, we were young, and then we stayed here for a little bit, then we went back. And then let's say I did kindergarten. I think I did kindergarten in Syria. I did first grade here. I did second grade in Syria. I did third grade here. I did fourth grade in Syria. I did fifth grade here.
Mm.
And then fifth grade, that was it. Then we stayed. But they really struggled. Like, do we stay? Do we not stay? So we kept like staying here for a year and leaving, coming back.
Mm.
So the only experience I have in terms of, I guess, the government
Yeah.
was when I was 11. We were leaving. We were in the airport. It was in Damascus airport. And, obviously the soldiers over there, they walk around with guns. Like it's just casual. So everywhere you see. And I remember I said to my mom, I'm like, God, I can't wait. Like I just want to leave here. I hate it here right now.
Yeah.
And the reason I said that was because my family, which all my family is there, they're all crying. And I hated that. I'm like 11-year-old. I'm like, why? They're always crying and I hate it.
Hmm.
So one of the officers stopped me and like questioned me without my mom. Like, why are you saying you hate it here? I was like, oh no, because my family's crying. And then they let me go.
Mm.
So I always think like, if I was a rebel, what was he gonna do? Lock me up? I was only 11. So, and then my mom, I remember she like came to me, she realized what was happening and then spoke to him too.
Mm.
Like I wasn't saying anything negative about the country. My experience was I hated seeing my family crying for us leaving.
Yeah, no,
So,
I understand.
yeah,
So obviously we won't get too much into it. We know, unfortunately, the political landscape that what's going on right now. But
Right.
back then, growing up, what was the political landscape like, especially being immigrants into this country?
Well, I would say that for us as Arabs growing up here in the U.S., we, I mean, I guess I could speak for all of us, but at the same time, I can't speak for all of us. But
Okay.
I don't know if we ever really truly felt like we belonged here.
Mm.
You know, like I don't think we did because we were always like it's the Arabs, and especially if you're a Muslim, you're living your life a certain way. You're not celebrating Christmas. You're not doing these things that everyone's doing. And back then, we didn't have the support system that's available now in our community. So back then, obviously, identity was a big thing. We didn't know who are we?
Hmm.
Are we am I Syrian or am I American? I mean, I'm technically both. I got exposed to collectivistic culture. I got exposed to individualistic culture.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a kid, I hated going back to Syria. I'm like, what the heck? This sucks. Like, why I keep meeting new friends and I have to leave them. And the same thing over there. I meet new friends. I have to leave them. But now I have such an appreciation for it because it really helped molded my character.
Hmm.
Because now I understand back home. Well, back home, by the way, they're absolutely sweet. They're absolute sweethearts. They're some of the kindest people you'll ever meet in your life. They'll give you everything
Mm.
they have just to like make you happy. And then here, yeah, you feel kind of isolated. You can't talk to your American friends about this because they don't really understand. And then they want you to be Americanized,
Mm.
right? That's like be Americanized.
Yeah.
So you gotta find you gotta figure out your way. Our religious leaders also they would come back home from like back home,
Hmm.
and they would say you have to act this way, but pertaining to like how they act back home, I'm like that's not happening here. Like we're going to school, it's a completely different experience.
Mm.
You know, girls and boys are mingling, we're talking, and we're just friends. This whole concept of being friends back home isn't really unheard of. Like it's like all separate. The girls are in one classroom, the boys are in one classroom.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, sometimes I think
so
it kind of goes a little hand in hand. Like to give a little backstory on mine. So I'm Colombian and Costa Rican.
hmm
I was born here in Jersey, born and raised here.
okay,
And there was one point where I was living in the suburbs at one point, and the neighborhood was great, loved it, but it was only really my family and another Puerto Rican family that were the only ones that were not Caucasian in this neighborhood. And everybody was nice, everybody was cool with everything, but we did have a next door neighbor who he was he was a good kid. He was friends with us for a while, but then afterwards his demeanor started to change towards us. And looking back on it now in hindsight, we noticed it was because his father was extremely prejudiced and he didn't like the
oh wow,
fact that what he was seeing with the landscape of his neighborhood. And that's why, long story short, me and the other Puerto Rican family really had to stay close to each other because we didn't know what is going on behind the scenes with all these other people that may or may not feel comfortable being in this neighborhood.
no,
And that's coming from an American standpoint. I'm an American. I'm
right,
born
right.
here, and yet I feel like
And
I'm
what town
very
was
much
this you said?
in Hawthorne.
Hawthorne.
Yeah.
See, I was raised in Clifton, and I will tell you, Clifton is very diverse, and I really appreciate that I grew up in Clifton because we had so many different groups in high school. So I was friends with that. Like for me personally, as a person, I was friends with every group. Like I had my Indian crew, I had my Spanish crew,
Hmm.
I had my black crew, I had my white crew. Like I just hung out with everybody.
Same.
Yeah, so I think we all kind of like just learned about one another. But whether I felt like a neighbor ever did anything like that to us, I didn't pay attention, honestly. I mean, I was naturalized like have my citizenship when I was
Hmm.
in ninth grade. Prior to that, I didn't even know that I was I was an immigrant. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know until my dad's like, "Hey, I passed the test. Now you're a U.S. citizen." I was like, "What do you mean?" So I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to grasp at that age,
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Now, obviously, you're in the education department now.
hmm
You're a teacher. Even as a little girl, even back then, did you always knew you wanted to teach?
I did not. I mean,
Okay.
so I come from a family of teachers, lawyers, and of course we have the all Arabs. We always have to have a doctor in the family.
Right. Yeah.
We have to have an engineer in the family. My dad was an attorney, so I always gravitated to obviously learning. I was always a critical thinker. I was very observant since I was a kid, so I always gravitated towards those things. And then I would ask my mom questions like, "Hey, like the moon, the distance from here," and she would say, "Nora, don't ask these questions. It'll drive you crazy." But it's because my dad worked all day, so I'm sure if my dad was home, he
Yeah.
probably would have taken the time to explain these things to me. My mom was just like, "Don't worry about it, because
She's
you're
very
crazy."
nonchalant. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like she's probably also like, "Oh my God, this girl asking these questions. I don't have the time. I got to go about my day." But in any event, so I was always very curious. And when I was young, I loved fashion.
Okay.
There was a movie that I used to watch called Teen Witch, which is a completely inappropriate movie to be watching as a young girl. Because yeah, if anybody watches
Between
Teen,
Metallica and this,
yes,
you had quite a
but
childhood.
it's crazy. Yeah, so yeah, that's essentially I was very inspired, and because I didn't really
Gotcha.
speak English, I used clothing to kind of express. It was kind of like the unspoken language. Is how I spoke my
Interesting.
language. I spoke to say, "Hey, I can relate with you. I like was New Kids on the Block back then.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Paul Abdul. I'm into Teen Witch. Look, I wear the same cowboy boots as her or whatever boots she had on. So I use clothing as a form of expression,
Hmm.
right? And then at one point I did ask my father, I said, I think I want to like just make clothes. And
Interesting.
I asked him for a sewing machine, and he said, Nora, straight up, like I didn't bring you to this country to become a seamstress. So like your option is be a doctor, be a lawyer, be something. So I did toy around for a while to be a lawyer
Hmm.
because I really do. I have a big mouth, and I always wanted to put it to good. I want to help people, but it just didn't work out for me. I didn't work out that way, and no, I did not think I was going to become an educator. So essentially, I left high school. I went to fashion school in New York City.
Hmm.
I loved it. I was there for about a year and then one semester. And then 9/11 happened. I was sitting in English class. I was waiting for the professor to like read my paper, and then someone comes in. I mean, not to make this all about 9/11 now, because I get like I can literally feel the
Sure.
emotions coming up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trauma from that day.
Yeah, I mean, it still affects everybody, a lot of people to
Well,
this day.
yeah.
So,
So I'm like what 18 at this point. I'm like
oh my
I'm
God.
in this big city. I'm commuting from New
Yeah,
Jersey.
I was a sophomore in high school at the time.
Yes,
So,
it was like such a crazy, crazy day. And I remember a girl running in class saying, "Oh my God, this happened. A plane just hit the Twin Tower." And in my head, I'm like, "Oh my God, like, wait, what? Is this Twin Tower we learned about in class? Like, what's going on?" I had no idea. And then next plane hits, and then everyone's like, "You're dismissed. Leave." They just said leave,
yeah, yeah.
and we just left. That's it. I left. I remember I had Nextel back then. It was a Nextel.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
remember the
Absolutely.
Nextels? Yep,
Yep.
remember? And none of the calls were going through, but I kept getting voicemails.
Mm.
I don't want to like cry about it, but my mom kept calling and I kept getting her voicemail. She was like, Nora, like, what's going on? Are you okay? So I remember leaving and so I couldn't call her because the phones weren't working. So what I did was I changed my voicemail. So, back then you used to be like, hey, you reached Nora. I can't get to the phone right now. I guess you could still do that now, but people really don't really leave
Yeah.
voicemails anymore. But I changed the recording on my phone. So every time she called, I said, Mom, Dad, I'm trying to get home. I'm okay. I'm trying to get home.
It's
So
very smart, actually.
that's what I thought of in that moment. And I think this is like 9 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get
Mhm.
home till 12:15 midnight.
That's
Yeah, the
crazy.
next day,
Yeah.
where I found the bus and I saw Willowbrook Mall. I hopped on that bus. My phone, I turned it off at that point because I didn't have a charger. And the little battery I had left, I turned it on. I told my brother, just go there. I don't know when the hell we're getting there. Just wait for me. I'm going to be on a bus.
Mm.
And then I got there. Wow, now you got me crying.
It's okay.
Very emotional. There's a lot of trauma.
Listen, I totally understand, and it's always a good thing to be just
Yeah.
yourself on the show. I welcome that, and the
Thank
audience
you.
appreciates that. Now, but going back to being an educator.
Right. So then eventually I went back to school a little bit, but I kept missing classes. And I remember my professor calling me. He's like, Nora, don't leave. You're really good at this. I was doing fashion marketing and I wanted to be a buyer because obviously I love to shop. I love to shop now. I've loved to shop then. So I was like, I'm going to be the best buyer ever for a company. And he was like, just don't quit. But I quit. I left and I ended up
Mm.
at Montclair State. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, maybe I should just go to law school. So I was a pre-law minor and I majored in psychology and I was a pre-law minor. And then there you have it. I leave school. My mom was like, you can probably become a substitute teacher, which I did in Patterson. And I love the kids. I'm like, oh my God, I see like myself in these kids
Yeah.
and they need the guidance. So that's how education found me. And I said, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then eventually, before I became a sub, I was teaching one class at PCC. And I was so nervous. Like, I was like so nervous to deal with college kids.
Hmm.
And then that's how it all kind of fell together.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
happen to be a participant in one of those
Yeah.
classes. So, when I was in your class, I
Hmm.
had you in Psych 101.
Yeah.
What was it about psychology that you went into that direction at first?
Well, I think it's a lot of things. It's the whole identity issue, dealing with who are you? How do you figure out who you are? Dealing with parents. I had my parents. My dad worked every day. My dad never saw sunlight. He went to work and worked all day in an Italian restaurant, left and came home at 11 o'clock every night. That was his life. So my dad literally gave up his life for us. And then my mom, there's a lot of trauma with my mom. She never wanted to be here. So the mom I got here was a very depressed, unmotivated, could not really do anything with us as little kids.
Yeah.
And then when we went to Syria, she was a completely different mom. Like she came alive there. So I had to, to cope with that. I was kind of like raising myself in a way because she didn't understand what was going on in school. She didn't understand what we were talking about. There was one day I remember, actually a couple times in middle school, 2 times I got slapped in the face
Ooh.
by older kids. And I remember one of the girls just had all her friends around me, and she's like, hit me, and I wouldn't hit her. I would not hit her. So then eventually she slaps me. I walk home crying. I mean, it's funny. It wasn't funny then, but it's funny now. I walk home crying, only for my mom to say you're late, and for her to hit me for being late.
Jesus.
So talk about not being able to connect and relate or tell anybody what you're experiencing. I had to hold it all in, suck it up, and figure it out. And that's why I gravitated towards psychology. I took Psych 101 also in college. I had a professor, I think Professor Siddiqui. She was a Muslim woman. And I started talking to her just like you talked to me. I spoke with her, and I was able to relate with her. She's like, I understand. I was raised here. I know the issues. And that's how it started. And that's how I love psychology, and I've been in psychology since then. I love psychology.
That's great. I mean, because at first glance, especially me back then in my 20s, I'm under the impression that you're into this because, you know, maybe you have some kind of degree in this, or maybe you're a therapist in some way, shape, or form, this, that, and the third. It's just a whole bunch of things. And to give you a little bit of backstory about when I went to PCCC, I majored in communications. I was trying to get into TV and radio, and lo and behold, I ended up being in podcasting. But that was one of the electives, and I had a bunch of prerequisites and everything. And I'm actually a college dropout. I didn't graduate from PCCC because, and I shared this with Marva earlier, where there was just a lot of things in my personal life. Like I was a full-time student. I didn't have any help with financial aid, so I was paying for everything out of pocket in my tuition while working a full-time job. And then sometime after I finished your class and going into the next semester, I had an emergency appendectomy. My appendix ruptured.
Oh, wow.
And I had to cancel the rest of my semester going forward. And then between that and the medical bills and so on and so forth, I couldn't afford another semester. So I just never went back. And there's always going to be a part of me that wishes that I could have finished what I started. But at the same time, I learned pretty much everything in hindsight, being 2020, is that school's never really for me. The only reason
that's totally okay.
And the only reason that I ever went to school, and I think that you could sympathize with this, is because everybody kept on telling me that I need to get an education. No matter where you get it from, you just have to have it, which I agree to an extent, but I just think that the method was a little unorthodox. Like, why couldn't I be led into a direction of what I want to do, as opposed to just doing it because I feel like I'm obligated to go? But, you know, everything does happen for a reason. And one of the things that happened is, you know, us reconnecting again on social media. And now you're a guest on my show.
Well, I think ultimately with you mentioned that I feel like that we put so much pressure on kids, like they have to pick a career. I mean, now even 5th graders are feeling it. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I always tell my students, you could be 40 and change your entire life, change your entire career. Like, don't be afraid. You don't have to be locked into anything.
I changed it at 35.
Yeah. So it's like, when you know the timing is right for you, it's going to be right for you. Like, you don't have to live in this box because society or because the education stages tells you this is what you have to do. Yeah. Go to college, get into debt. And, you know, I mean, think about all the students who go to college. I mean, luckily when I was in college, I was really hyper-focused. I definitely was like, I wanted to learn, you know? I never partied. I was never into the partying scene. Not to say I did not party, but I just wasn't really gravitating towards that. I joined a sorority, but even with my sorority friends, I'm the business person. Like, I'm not interested in these like things that you guys link up with. I'm not interested.
Right.
So I was there for the right reasons. I feel a lot of kids today, they go to college for the wrong reasons. Because even when you hear how they pick a college, it's off of like who has the best parties. That's like completely wrong. Like, you're going to go to college to get into debt. What are you going to do? Because then it comes to, financial aid will give you, free money or whatever. And then you get a little refund. And what are you going to do with that little free refund? You're going to spend it to go, I don't know, to Cancun somewhere or whatever. And you're going to get into debt. So that, $1,000, $1,500 you took from financial aid that you're going to end up eventually paying, or this loan that you're going to end up paying back, that's accumulating interest every day while you're in college, every single day. Then you get out, then you lock it in. That interest now becomes part of your entire balance, and then it earns interest on that balance. So that trip to Cancun that you thought you paid back in the days, it was $1,500 when we were in college. Now is probably $7,000, and you had based on the interest that you just accumulated. So I think if you're going to go to college, I mean, college isn't for everybody, and that's totally okay. You could still be educated without having a college degree. That's why there's Barnes & Noble. You can go there, pick up books. There's Audible.
Yeah.
You can listen to books.
Yeah. I mean, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think sometimes I feel I'm a little bit more educated and a lot more common sense than somebody that has a doctorate. in
Yeah.
some cases.
Well, a lot of people, listen, a lot of people graduate college and they don't know anything.
Right.
And,
So, I
and
mean,
it's
some of my
sad.
biggest inspirations and heroes didn't even finish high school. But not to say that that should be the norm or we should follow the same
Mm.
blueprint that they did. It's just, you shouldn't have to put a boundary on it, is
Right. I
ultimately what
think
it is.
at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you.
Right.
You know, you don't have to base things on prestige or like what's going to look good, because whatever knowledge you learn, no matter what college, that's your knowledge. And you
Hmm.
can, and it's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like whether you take a psychology class here or take a psychology class at Harvard, you're learning all about the same experiences. Maybe the language level is different in a textbook, but it's all the same stuff in psychology.
Yeah.
You know, it's all experiments that happened a long, long time ago. Well, obviously with a lot of new stuff now, which is positive psychology, which is what I have my master's in.
There you go.
So,
So obviously you just said that you fell into education.
right.
It wasn't something that you was on your radar young, but and now that the fact that you've been doing it now, even still to this day, you've been doing it for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that nobody does anything that they really don't want to spend, especially for extended periods of time, if they're not passionate about what
Yeah.
they do. So how did that passion of being an educator develop over time? Especially since it wasn't on your radar the first time around.
Right. Well, I think especially just seeing kids and that they needed the guidance.
So being in your class, one of the things that I don't know why it stuck me for so long, but it was a little unorthodox, but I know that there was a method to what you were doing. And I think for a full week, one of the assignments that you had in our class was watching the entire documentary of The Secret.
Oh yeah, the secret
Now,
was, this was the time it was really big. I
yeah,
remember.
so
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I know people that read it. I know people that watched the documentary. I know people that followed it like a religion. And then you started showing it to your students. Now, it didn't stick with me with the way it probably stuck with you, but what was it about The Secret that actually like gravitated towards you and you felt like you needed to share this with your students?
All right. Well, I remember this documentary was super big. Everybody like, wanted to like watch The Secret. I made my parents watch it. Like I made everybody watch it. But I think it's overall just reframing your thinking. So I'm very big on reframing, right? I think if we constantly are stuck in a negative kind of thought pattern, we're not going to get what we want out of life.
Yeah.
Right. And for most aspect, life sucks. Like, just let that be known.
I mean, yeah, you're not saying anything.
Life sucks to some degree, but you can create a life for yourself that is going to be conducive despite what you've been through, despite what traumas you've experienced. And this is where I think the new psychology kind of leads into, but piggybacking off of the documentary, reframing your thinking. How can you think about your goals in a way that you can manifest them, that you can think about them where they become actual goals, instead of saying, you know, I would like that, but I'm never going to get that. Like, it's never going to happen for me. Okay, well, yeah, you're right. It's never going to happen for you if that's your attitude about it.
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh my God, I'm going to visualize myself completing this course. I'm going to visualize myself starting my own business. I'm going to sit there and think about it. When you do that, you activate your brain, and then the emotions you start to feel it, right? And then that can inspire you, that can motivate you towards that goal, where you're no longer focused on the other stuff that's holding you back, whatever the negative thoughts you're having. So that's how I could think back then my thinking when you had me is completely different than my thinking now. I've also evolved so much in the past 16 years of teaching that, but now for me, I'm more religious. So I'm Muslim, and Islam plays a huge role in my life, and prayer comes in twofold. It's what you see Muslims praying, you know, they stand up and they,
Yes.
you know, they go down. And another part is you talking to God and asking for what you want. Like, asking, if you want to be wealthy, ask to be wealthy. Some people, you know, so many people are afraid to be wealthy. Like, they're afraid to ask for it. They think for some reason it's like wrong. But like, no.
Like, it's not morally acceptable.
Yeah, like, no, ask for what the hell you want. And at the end of the day, whatever is meant for you will find you. And if it's not meant for you, it's not going to find you.
Right.
That's what
Well,
it is.
the interesting thing for me personally is, and this goes to show how much growth I've done since then. What you didn't know about the student that was in your class, myself, was I was a pretty negative person.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stemmed from the environment that I was surrounded by, you know, like not just, you know, it was family. Like the household I was living in was extremely toxic and negative, and I would emote into that, into my everyday life. And it's no wonder, again, hindsight 2020, you start to see the error of your ways, and you actually see why things were the way they were at the time. And then you kind of grow out of that, and then things get better. So maybe the method from The Secret is not how I would have followed it play by play, but I got out of it somehow. And, especially back then, like, I don't remember the documentary very well, but there were certain things, I guess, with my negative way of thinking at the time where, you have this old guy who's talking about, like, where's my camera's like right here. You should wake up every morning, every day. Just tell yourself, I love me. I love myself. Mwah! What's not to love? And I just think that that's just silly and stupid or whatever. That's my way of thinking in my 20s at the time. And not to mention the environment that I was in. Now, I don't know if I would go about it that way, but I understand the message now.
Right. Well, I think you have to find your own unique thing for you, right? It
Right.
doesn't mean that you have to like do exactly what they're telling you to do in a documentary.
hmm
But even when you meditate, people get weird about meditation because they think you have to sit there in silence, and then for somebody who's constantly wants to talk or do something, that can be very difficult.
Yeah, my
But
brain cannot shut off.
well,
So,
you don't realize that just maybe if you want to clean your house, that could be a form of meditation.
absolutely.
Doing the dishes, that could be a form of meditation. So it's whatever that gets you to refocus. It doesn't have to be where you kind of the traditional you sit there quietly and you're just in silence. It doesn't have to be that. You choose what you want it to be, and it has to work for you.
Yeah.
And you have to think about, is it adding value to me? If it's not, then don't do it.
Right. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I actually had a discussion with somebody the other day,
Mhm.
actually, where I really saw um how my way of thinking and how much growth and maturity I've gone through. And you have to sometimes find a little bit more of a context, like maybe relatability. So I'll use this as an example. I'm a huge movie buff.
Mhm.
I'm a cinephile to the
Okay.
hardcore. And one of my favorite movies from the 2000s is a movie called Sideways with Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah.
So it's a comedy. It's like dramedy, that kind of thing. So basically the story is it's about these two guys that are one is getting married, so they're having a bachelor weekend in Napa Valley, and one of them is trying to figure out his life, and the other one is wondering if he should get married at all.
Okay.
So Paul Giamatti, who's the main character, he's a failed writer and he's a teacher, and he is just like a negative Nancy. Nothing is going his way, and so on and so forth. And watching that movie in 2005, 2006, whenever I saw it, I was able to fully relate to Paul Giamatti's character.
Mhm.
And then I watched it fast forward into like maybe in the 2020s, and then I watch it for old time's sake because it is a good movie after all. I do recommend people watching it. But as I'm watching it, I'm finding Paul Giamatti's character to be very irritable, very negative, and he should also be thankful and grateful for what he has accomplished, and he's just focusing too much on what he hasn't accomplished and what he
Right.
doesn't have, as opposed to taking the small wins and the victories of what he has done and all the talent that he still possesses within himself, and he just has to have a little bit more patience.
Right.
So it's funny to have that hindsight from when I was in my 20s watching that film, totally relating to his character, to now where I think like, dude, stop. You cut the shit. All right, enough.
No.
and to coin a phrase. But it's funny that I found that relatability in me being a cinephile to show how much growth and maturity I've
No.
gone through within the decades ever since.
Well, I think also you're forgetting brain development, right?
hmm
Our brains don't fully develop until our early 20s, up to 25. So we're not thinking critically. The emotional part of the brain is really kind of taking control and making the decisions for us.
Yeah.
This kind of explains why teenagers make a lot of irrational decisions sometimes. But don't be so hard on yourself. That negative thinking,
Yeah.
your brain wasn't fully there. And it's the same thing for me. My brain wasn't fully there until obviously it fully develops, and then you become a different person. So like when you think about when you're younger, everything is like, the world sucks. My parents suck. Everybody sucks.
Mhm.
But then as you grow older, well, you start acting like your parents. That could be good news for some people. That could be bad news for some people, right? But they've been modeling for us how to behave.
hmm
But ultimately, I think brain development, if we
Or not
understand,
how to be,
or not
how not to behave.
to some degree, but
Yeah.
most people were creatures of habit. So
Sure.
if you're being modeled certain behaviors, for you to really change your behavior, you have to experience, like maybe you experienced it in a movie, you have to experience something else.
Sure. I mean, listen, I don't want to. I don't mind if I sneeze or cough like my dad, but I don't want to,
React the same way.
react the same way
Yeah.
in other aspects. But yeah, I get what you're saying 100%. So after all of this time, we finally reconnect on social media, and me being the nosy person that I am, because
Right,
I
right, tell-
naturally like to do research when I do podcasts and so on and so forth, I see that not only are you teaching, but you're also a content creator as well.
Right. Well, I started content creating, obviously, like everyone else, when COVID happens.
Yeah, that's
During that
usually
time, I was pregnant with my daughter. Very scary time, obviously. But like everyone else, we're home, we're quarantined, and you start thinking, about life and What is it that you want to do? You have a lot of time on your hands now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started thinking about fashion again, and I'm like, I've always loved fashion. I've been a consumer of fashion since I was literally I think not a freshman, but a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
So how can I merge these two together?
That's what I was getting at.
And I'm
It's
like,
amazing how you're able to put the two together.
right. So I'm like, there has to be a way. And I struggled. I really struggled. And I kept going through different things. Like my friends were like, why don't you do Nora styling? Like you're styling different things. And, and I tried it, but I'm like, it's not authentic to me. Like education is very authentic to me. Not to say that, I like to do those tutorials and do all of these things, but I don't want that to be it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm not just like, hey, go shop. Like, hey, you should buy this, right? I don't want to be that girl.
Right, right.
I want to be that girl. Like, if you're going to shop, make sure it's aligned with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So then, the thought popped into my head. I'm like, there are different subfields in psychology. Like, if you were interested in working and understanding children, that there's developmental psychology. If you're interested in business, there's industrial and organizational psychology. So I'm like, I wonder if I can create this, if I could do this. So I started doing my research. During my research, I learned that fashion psychology is becoming a thing already in London.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, snap, I could totally bring this to the United States. Then I do some research. I think her name is Dr. Dawn Karen.
Okay.
She's not a psychologist, but she coined the term dopamine dressing, if everyone's familiar with it.
Yeah.
She's a professor at FIT. So I started following her stuff. And then I read a book, Fashion Psychology by Dr. Carolyn Marr. And then from there, I was like, this is it. This is where I belong. And then I'm like, now it makes sense. Now I can gear my YouTube channel. I can gear my content just towards that. And then of course I'll share behind the scenes because my friends, they're like, you have such a, you're so animated, the way you talk, people listen, and you start doing other videos. So you've been noticing recently, I've been posting more and talking more to my audience. So that's all done on purpose. At first I started with these videos. I'm like, phase 2, I'll start doing this. And then eventually I'm trying to create another career for myself doing what I love, which is fashion psychology.
Yeah. Now, to give an example to my audience of what you do, I'll let you elaborate on it more, but the gist of it is, with color coordination or reasons why you wear a certain color. Like for me, for example, I wear a lot of black.
Yeah. So as do I, as you can see.
Yeah. I wear a lot of black for a number of reasons. One, my body dysmorphia. I think I just look slimmer in them. I think it adds to my identity, the kind of like the mysteriousness of it, so on and so forth. But it's amazing to see that, and I'll let you elaborate on it, how you picking certain colors or wearing colors, especially on a regular basis, and how it affects how it reflects your mood and your personality. And I guess I'll just let you elaborate on it more because this is more your wheelhouse. But it was very relatable to me. I was like, holy shit!
I love that.
I believe that.
Yeah. Well, so we'll get back to black, but overall, my goal is to really understand why we wear the things that we do. Like, why do we gravitate towards these things, right? How are we influenced by these things? Color psychology is just a portion of it. There's also so much more, like consumerism addiction, right? A lot of women go into a lot of debt as a result. And I'm one of them, I'll be the first to admit.
Okay.
I go into a lot of debt where I have to call my husband to save me. And I'm tired of living my life like that. Like, I'm just tired of constantly, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Like, I spent more money now and, you got to come help me. I'm like, why am I doing this for stuff I don't really need? So even recently, this past year, I went through a phase where I started looking at designer stuff and I'm like, are they really aligned with who I am? Like, because now psych fashion is my thing. I'm reading about it. I'm reading all the research. I'm like, are they really aligned with who I am? So I got rid of a lot of my stuff. I sold them. I called up the Real, which is New York City. I'm like, come to my house, and they looked through all my stuff. They took them and they sold them for me. And I'm like, now I'm not against designer, by the way. I'm not saying don't be designer, right? But by designer, it's all about alignment. So my key thing is with fashion, my Psych Fashion page, the number one pillar is authenticity. You need to be authentic. I don't care what you wear. If it's authentic to you and it aligns with your values and who you are, then we're good. But if you're doing things because you're following trends, then there's something going on here. Then you don't know who you are.
I mean, one of the things that has helped me out, and I'm not the most fashionable guy in the world, but one thing that I have followed since maybe 2005 is it's not what you wear, it's how you wear it. So I could have these Ray-Ban looking sunglasses that are not actually from Ray-Ban, but they fit my face fine, and it make me actually look cooler than I actually am. So it's doing it. And I didn't even need to break the bank in order to do it.
Well, that's a lot of us fall victim to this, right? Yeah. That's all branding. That's marketing for you, right? They tell you that for you to have value. Well, let's start from the very beginning. Little girls now, if I'm growing up, I didn't have social media. Little girls now who have social media, they're measuring themselves up to like who has a Louis Vuitton, who has the Gucci, who has a Chanel. And they're thinking that's the status that's going to add value to them. So social media right now for young little girls, it is stripping away their security. So they feel insecure. So they're being raised to be insecure. Then you have these brands when they're older, right? They pop in and like, here's your value now. By you having this bag, you have value. That's why you have to have this Chanel bag, because it's going to add value. It's going to make you somebody. But the reality of it is, no, it's not. Because yeah, you may feel good when you have it, but then guess what? It diminishes, doesn't go away. Why? Because it's not really aligned with you. You're being told what you should be doing. So we have to be more cognizant and more aware that when I'm making this purchase, like let's say I love Chanel. Chanel to me is very classic, a lot of black.
Yeah.
I relate to that, right? It reminds me of my grandmother, the way she wore her bags back then. So I connect with that brand more. It's more aligned with who I am.
Yeah.
Right? I also love Gucci. But I'm not just buying everything at Chanel. I'm not just buying anything at Gucci because I want to have Gucci, right? It's about these specific pieces that remind me of something special, right? And it took me a lot to learn. I mean, I'm 43 now, and it took me 43 years to eventually learn this. Young girls now in their 20s, I mean, think about it. They're getting Botox. That was never a thing. Like,
No.
I was in high school. I never had a conversation with any of my girlfriends saying, hey, you think I should get Botox? Do you think I should get a nose job? That wasn't a thing.
No.
But we had our insecurities in different ways. You know, it's like, look at the magazine. Look what this girl's wearing. And I remember my sophomore year.
Abercrombie and Fitch, yeah.
Yeah. So remember Abercrombie and Fitch back then? It was only for like the skinniest girls.
Right.
So like that
I saw the
body
documentary too, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I lived it.
Yeah.
I was afraid to go into that store because even though I was really skinny, but I wasn't like the model
Right.
of what like the tall, skinny girl they were looking for.
You weren't anemic or anything like that. Or anorexic,
No.
Yeah.
No, I never had an eating disorder or anything. But when I was in high school, I weighed 100 pounds. I was very thin, very, very thin. And I mean, I would say, did I not eat? I guess for the most part, I didn't eat. But what I had for breakfast, I remember my sophomore year in high school, I ate nothing but the chocolate granola bar and a pink Snapple lemonade. That was my breakfast every day the entire year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I eat. I would go to homeroom, go to the vending machine, and that's happening to this day. I mean, things have changed now with the laws. Like you have to have healthy snacks for kids, but back then we had access to all unhealthy snacks.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, to answer the question, going back to psychology of fashion, the color psychology portion is a part of it, but there's also designer and mental illness. You know, many designers, they either end up committing suicide or they have addiction issues because that pressure to, develop and create all the time because the new season is coming and you got to show what creative side that you're bringing in for people to purchase and purchase and purchase. So we're kind of just working our behinds off to end up spending on luxury, getting into debt, and then still feeling like shit. So you don't need a name brand thing. And now it's all about the dupes, right? And there's no clear-cut answer because in psychology, when our goal is to really understand human behavior. But when they ask you, why does this person act this way? The best answer is always going to be that it depends because there are too many variables to consider. There's the biological aspect, what's going on chemically in their body. How are they thinking? Do they have too much of one chemical? Do they not have enough of one chemical? Then there's the we call it the biopsychosocial approach. How does this person talk to themselves? Are they negative? Are they positive? How do they see the world? How do they interact with the world? What are they seeing? And then you have your environment, which we are so much influenced by our environment. You believe it or not, you were so much influenced by our environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we consider all these things to determine like why a person might be behaving this way. But nothing is ever concrete, Only the person themselves who are going through it is going to really have the in-depth understanding as to why they're experiencing this. So.
What do you mean by if you're monochrome girly?
Okay, so your monochrome girl, this is monochrome, it's like all one color. So monochrome girly, sometimes you could be perceived as being boring because it's like there's no color to your outfit. But some people are like, no, I like monochrome because maybe my personality is maybe I'm very outgoing. And that helps balance the personality. Because could you imagine if you're outgoing and you have a loud outfit on and then you have crazy amount of makeup on, subconsciously the people you interact with, they're going to be bored. You're going to annoy them. Which brings me to the color red.
Okay.
I just posted about the color red. And there's something for your audience they could benefit from. I always tell all my friends the color red because it's a very strong visual stimulant.
Yes.
Right? It demands attention. Never wear red on a Monday. If you're going to wear red, never wear red on a Monday. Because if you have an interview, if you have a serious conversation you need to have, you will annoy people because subconsciously on a Monday, everybody's tired. They're coming off Sunday scaries. And what many people don't know, on Mondays, more specifically, there are three things that happen: more suicides, more heart attacks, and more car accidents. So,
Yeah, well, this is a little bit off topic, but it stays
yeah,
on topic with color.
yeah,
But one of the things that I did notice, and I can't even get it out of my mind now, is red is could be used very beneficially in marketing, specifically
yeah,
in the food industry.
yeah.
I mean, look at McDonald's, look at Burger King, look at Wendy's, look at Chick-fil-A, look at all these fast food chains. They have
Yeah,
the color red in them because the color red actually emotes hunger. It makes you
yeah,
want to
absolutely.
eat. So
It's all psychological, yeah.
yes, exactly, and that's what I'm getting at. And then also going back to what you were saying about brands and so on and so forth, I wanted to see the flip side of that coin, and let me elaborate what I mean
Yeah,
by that. So I mentioned Ray Bans earlier.
yeah.
Now I do have a pair of Ray Bans,
I
and
love Ray-Bans.
yeah,
Yeah,
and to spin a positive way on it, I love sunglasses. I've bought so many from like pharmacies and gas stations and so on and so forth because obviously they're very affordable. And again, it's not what you wear, it's how you wear it.
no,
But I found myself when I got the Ray-Bans because I wanted to treat myself. I've noticed that it started to teach me to have a little bit more discipline. I mean, these things are expensive. You know, you're not
yeah.
gonna buy them at a gas station or a pharmacy or whatever. So because of the price tag on them and because of the brand name, it kind of made me have more respect for my own belonging, and I wanted to make sure that I don't scratch these up and I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
do this. And then afterwards, it kind of
You
spilled
carry a
over.
case
Yeah,
and
and it kind of spilled over into all of my other facets. Like no matter how expensive or cheap anything that I own, should have more respect and I should have more discipline for the things that I own, no matter the price tag, whether it's expensive or cheap. And it's funny that a brand name like that, to flip it on the other side about, not worrying about name brands too much because of the price tag, it made me want to have more discipline in my own belongings.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because you have been taught, you have been conditioned to believe that these Ray-Bans, despite that they're all the same material, right?
Hmm.
Because they cost more, they're more valuable, therefore you should pay attention to them. Whereas, I mean, all sunglasses are all plastic, they're all coming from one company. I think it's in
Yeah.
Spain, and all the designers are getting that. All they're doing is slapping a label on it,
Mhm.
you
But
know, and
but what I mean by that is that even I can get like a white t-shirt that costs me like $6 and I want to make sure that I don't stain that motherfucker at all.
yeah,
Like I want
yeah.
to keep it crisp. So basically Ray-Bans have taught me more discipline about my own belongings overall.
No, well, I mean, that's good that you had that experience.
Yeah.
But whether it's everyone's going to experience that,
Hmm.
I don't know, because somebody could have a lot of Ray-Bans, and because they're so desensitized having a lot of Ray-Bans,
Hmm.
they're not going to care. You put more value into it because you've been buying sunglasses from gas stations. So you're saying they don't hold as much value or as much weight, and they're not expensive.
Hmm.
So because now you have an expensive pair, you're going to pay attention to them a little more. But if you had like 20 expensive pairs,
Fair enough.
eventually you're like, yeah, well, I don't care. This one broke. Okay, well, next. No, I think it all depends. There's no right answer. In other words, it all depends on the person and the experience.
Yeah. Now, aside from the psycho fashion,
Mhm.
there's also something else where I don't want to mispronounce it, so I'll let you tell it.
Oh, the podcast I just started.
Yes.
All right, so I started a podcast focusing on Arab narratives, and it's
Yes.
called Gazoza Hamra.
That's KAZUZOUZA.
ZA, yeah.
Yes.
Gazoza, which means soda. It means red soda. It's all it
Red
means.
soda. Yeah, I
Gazoza.
see it right here. Yeah.
Think of like what is the Mexican soda, Jarritos? Is it
Chiritos.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jarritos. So when my brother and I would go back to Syria, we would always, the first thing we want to do, we're like, Dad, please take us to the store and get us a red soda, Gazoza Hamra. And then they would serve it to us in a plastic bag. They would like take it out of the bottle because we were kids.
Yeah.
They would put it in a plastic bag with a little straw, and we would go on our merry way. And it would just be my brother and I just chilling, drinking red soda. So that was like our thing. So eventually, at one point, obviously, with what's happening in the Middle East and Palestine, has been we've experienced such trauma in the Arabic community. So I wanted a space to create for Arabs, just for us to kind of reclaim our narratives, because we have so many misconceptions against us, especially after 9/11 with Islamophobia and everybody
Yeah.
blaming us for it. And life was already difficult. Imagine now after 9/11. Luckily for me, I will be honest, it's a privilege because my last name isn't an Arab last name. It's an Italian last name.
Yeah.
So my dad's ancestors were from Italy.
Hmm.
And then my mom's also half Turkish. So I just say I'm Syrian because that's all I know. I don't know who in Italy we came from. I just was told that there was a village called Terman. And that's where my dad's ancestors come
Yeah.
from.
Before you continue, I
Yes,
just want
good.
to say that when I was in your class, I was naturally assuming that you were Italian because of the
Yeah.
last name and also from your look. Like I
Yeah.
said, you kind of had like the Italian heritage
Yeah.
going on at the
Well,
time.
it's funny because a lot of Italians and Syrians, we got a lot of Italians and Arabs, we look alike
Right.
because they got the the olive
And you
skin
got the
tone.
delicacies, which is
Right.
amazing.
So we're kind of very similar. People don't realize we love the olives, the
Yeah.
olive oil.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I didn't experience that much on my end, but I saw my friends experience it. And I'm a rebel by nature. Obviously, I feel like I've been dealt a lot of injustices in life. So I've learned to speak up for myself. And now I am empowered with knowledge and I'm not afraid to use my voice.
Mhm.
You know, despite if it offends anybody, I really don't care if you're offended. You know,
Right.
as long as you're willing to listen respectfully, I will always listen to anybody respectfully if they have a different argument. But if you're going to tell me that my opinion is wrong and you're going to label me as something because you don't agree, then that's bullshit to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I created Qazos Hamra to have these important conversations and to empower my community. You know, my community, like I said, I've watched my friends who wear hijabs be treated like shit when we
Mm-hmm.
go to stores. You know, I've seen it. I don't wear it. Like I said, I didn't experience that
Right.
to that extent, but I experienced it through my friends. You know, and of course, my parents growing up here, if my mom didn't speak the proper American English, you know, people treated her differently. I don't like that. So this is my love letter to my community. I want to be there now that I am where I am. I'm outspoken. I strongly and firmly, I'm a person who believes in justice. You know, I stand for rights for everybody. I will fight for anyone's rights. And that's who I am as a person. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like it, but I don't care. As long as you are a good person, everybody deserves to have a life where they can lead a good life, buy things for their kids, do things that they want to do, empower themselves in any way they can, have access to water, have access to housing. Like, I really feel strongly about this. We all deserve that. This is like basic human necessity that we all deserve our government to give us for any group. So
I hear the passion behind it. Absolutely.
no, yeah. So this is where I am with Qasas Hamra, and you know,
You
right
read
now,
my mind, bro. Thank you.
so yeah, I'm starting just talking about issues in our within our community, because as you know, every community faces their issues, and when you talk about these things, you realize when you look at the larger picture, we're all so similar. Like you experiencing that negative stuff in your household.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many Arabs experience negative stuff? If I told you the translation of what kids are told from in Arabic and how you translate that into English and what they actually mean, you'd be like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God. But this is what we're raised in. We're being told. Like, I remember my mom would, if she got upset with me, she'll say, غضب الله ينزل عليكي.
Uh-huh.
Right? That means literally, may the wrath of God rain down on you. Like the wrath of God.
Jesus.
So imagine you're like,
She had no
trans
mercy.
no, but in Arabic it doesn't sound. It's
I
not
was
like
just gonna say
right.
it
It's
doesn't
like
sound as
it's because I'm speaking English now. I'm
Mhm.
interpreting. I'm like, oh my God, this is what she wants. What? But it's so common. So
Yeah.
you realize that each culture has these sort of things.
Mhm.
You know. So in the end, it's not about being right or anything. It's just about learning and being giving ourselves an opportunity to be better.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where we're at now, especially millennials. You're a millennial.
Yes.
Now it's our turn. We're stepping in. We're coming up with these podcasts because a lot of millennials are starting podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to be able to give back, especially like Gen Z. You know, we need to back them up, and Gen Z is backing us up because guess what? Everything that's happening on these college campuses, Gen Z. I love Gen Z
Mm-hmm.
because they're speaking out. They're saying this is bullshit. Millennials, when we were in school, we were raised to suck it up and not say a single word.
Yeah.
You work in a toxic environment, shut up. Don't say anything. This was happening, you say nothing.
Well, I mean, yes, you're right, but I also feel being a millennial, I was also a little bit of an outlier, and I'm kind of like you, where
Okay.
I'm just a rebel by nature, where I don't follow the norms, and I won't get into too much details and too much specifics, but
Right.
I feel like sometimes I'm kind of like on the cusp of Gen Z, also being a millennial, but I understand completely what you
No.
mean, and I feel like me being an outlier has also allowed me to accomplish the things that I told myself that I feel I should and I deserve. And I love that it's seeping into and also breaking those generational curses as well.
Yeah, because we're not locked in. We don't have to do the thing. I mean, I love that our parents, like I love that my parents, they took a shot and they came here and they're like, you know what, let's give our kids a better opportunity. I would not be here had it not been for my father making that decision, my mom making that decision.
Right.
You know, I could be angry with them all I want for like things that I wanted that I didn't get, but I reframe it differently in my mind now. I'm like, I completely
Same here,
reframe
yeah.
it. When I was younger, I was very angry with my parents. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm lost. I'm completely lost. and they can't help me. They don't know how to help me.
Yeah.
So I'm just very grateful I had good teachers in school, and they helped me through it. So whatever I had an issue, I would go to them and they would give me feedback. That's kind of how I survived, you know?
To anybody out there that's watching, they're listening to this episode right now, and they want to do something with their life and they're very passionate about it, but they feel discouragement, fear, whatever negative connotation or emotion that comes with it. What would you say to those people that are listening and watching right now? Your advice?
What's the worst thing that can happen? If you fail, okay, you fail. We're all failing. Everybody's failing all the time. The best lessons come from failure. And that really is true. It's a true story. Every time you fail, there's a lesson. I forget there was like a Malcolm X quote. By the way, if you ever read the book, the autobiography of Malcolm X,
Yes.
highly. And if you actually, if you were my student back then, I always recommend that book to my students.
I would. I would read it.
It's such a great book. Alex Haley, that was the book when I read. I cried. I felt like I really connected with Malcolm X. But there was a quote that he has, something along the lines of, every failure, every defeat contains its own seed of which how you can improve your performance for the next time around.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're afraid, take that, failure, take that fear, wrap your hand around its neck, and just go for it. Because the worst thing that that can happen is you're going to fail. And guess what? There's a lesson to be learned. So you just course correct and you move on. And I'm sure right now with my social media, I've failed a lot. I'm learning how to edit. I'm learning color grading, and I'm making a lot of mistakes and I'm putting it out there. But I'm at a stage in my life where I don't care what anybody says or anybody thinks. I think you just reach a certain level, you don't care. But I get that the younger generation, they care about these things, but ultimately just go for it.
Yeah. Now, we have a mutual friend, at least on social media.
Cool.
I don't know if you know him personally, but he's one of my dear friends. His name is Carlos Villa.
Oh, Carlos is my high school friend.
Yeah, I feel like he's high school friends with everybody, because when I tell,
Carlos.
he's been on the show before plenty of times.
Really?
He's Hall of Fame first class, so definitely check out.
I gotta check that episode out.
Yeah, matter of fact, shout out to Carlos, by the way, because he hooked me up with the Tyler the Creator concert last week. Had a ball. Thank you so much for that, brother.
Look at Carlos. What's up with the hookup here? We should call him right now.
I mean, I don't know if he's busy right now. I don't want to.
No, but he's right. Yeah, we graduated together. We went to high school together.
Did you know his sister Veronica also?
Mm-hmm. Veronica, absolutely.
One of my dear friends.
I haven't seen her since like high school, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
she's gorgeous. She's absolutely
beautiful
stunning.
woman.
Yeah,
absolutely. Beautiful inside and out.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, going back to Carlos though.
How funny.
Yeah, I know. Small fucking world.
Yeah.
But he shared something, and I thought it really resonated with me today, where he was like, everybody wants to win until they realize how many losses it takes. Take that for what you
absolutely, yeah. Well, it's going to the same thing. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how you learn.
Yeah.
I mean, that is how you learn. How else are you going to learn if you don't make mistakes?
Exactly.
When you do your homework and you get the math problem wrong, you have to keep adjusting that formula until you master it. Same concept.
Or if my father's going to give me a backhand if I don't figure it out.
Oh, yes.
So we're about to close out this episode in a little bit, and we're going to get into our final segment. But before we do that, I want to say how much it has been a joy to speak to you, Nora, because not only are we catching up from everything that has happened, but I noticed throughout this entire conversation, when I'm about to segue into something else, you already met me right there when I was going to get to it. So I feel like there was a little bit of synchronicity between us. I don't even know if that's a real word, but okay. So I feel like this conversation was meant to happen. It flowed naturally. And I think that basically cognitively it was in sync, because you basically answered everything before I had a chance to even ask it. So I don't know if that's
well, I talk a lot, so
I don't know if that's a superpower of yours or whatever, but ultimately I just think that this conversation needed to be done, needed to be had, needed to be said, and I couldn't be happier that it happened. So thank you so
likewise
much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed
Absolutely.
this.
So
and I will be back.
All right, so now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for everybody's favorite segment. It is now called This or That. If you've never seen the show before, what happens is I will ask my guests here multiple choice questions. There's no right or wrong answers, just what you like best, for the audience to get to know you a little bit more and to end the show on a positive note.
All right, awesome.
All right, so are you ready, Marv? Are you ready, Nora?
Yes, I'm ready.
I'm still getting used to calling you Nora. I apologize.
Don't worry. Call me professor. I guess that could be like my thing, right? The professor. I like to bring to that.
There we go.
No, please call me Nora.
I think we're cooking something up here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go for this or that. And remember, there's no right or wrong answers, just what you like best.
I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Playlist or podcast?
Podcast.
Slides or Crocs?
Slides.
Beach or pool?
Pool.
Dogs or cats?
Neither.
Are you allergic?
I'm not
Just not, you
responsible
don't
to
give a
take care of
shit.
animals. So.
Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I guess both, depending on the summer, I'm night owl.
Hmm.
During the school year, I'm an early bird.
So we're in the summer now. You're a night owl currently.
Yeah.
All right. Soon to be an early bird. Instagram or TikTok?
Oh, both. I don't know. I like both of them for different reasons.
Which one do you find yourself using more?
Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
To give or to receive?
To give.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm totally an extrovert.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Iron Man or Captain America?
Iron Man.
Are you glass half empty or glass half full?
Glass half full.
Would you rather be embarrassed or be afraid?
Be embarrassed.
Would you rather be too hot or be too cold?
Be too cold.
Me too. Do you prefer doing dishes or laundry?
Dishes.
Do you prefer the window seat or the aisle seat?
I don't really care. I guess window seat.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you book smart or street smart?
Both.
Everybody says that. Such a
No, but I
cheat
really am. I've been around some.
I get
Been
it.
around some gangsters in my life. You know, I know how the streets work
Okay, G.
to some degree. It's a gangster.
Do you prefer reading or writing?
Oh, that's tough because I love both so much. But now reading, yeah, I
Okay.
can
Would you rather speak every language or play every instrument?
speak every language.
Cardio or weights?
Oh, cardio. I guess I generally hate working out. To be honest with you, but I guess cardio to start.
Yeah, well, like, what's your preference? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dancing or karaoke?
Karaoke. Oh my God. big mic.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. Drama or comedy?
Comedy.
Movie theater or streaming service?
Streaming service.
Ice water or room temperature?
Ice water.
And then finally, teamwork or solo project?
Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this and that. And that is going to do it for this episode of First Class, Second Place. Thank you to my great guest, Nora Termanini, for coming through here so much.
Thank you so
Really,
much.
really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to before we close out?
Shout out to my kids. You know, I know they miss me right now, and to my husband. That's it.
All right.
And to my friends, whoever who supports me. Shout out to you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Mars, shout out.
Thanks, Mars.
All right. So, plug in your socials, your podcast, what have you.
All right. So if you're interested in following me, you can go on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's Psych of Fashion. Even though it might be spelled, it looks like it's Psycho Fashion. It's not. It's PSYCHOFFASHION. So Psych of Fashion.
And your podcast?
And same thing. I mean, anywhere you find me, just put Psych of Fashion, I'll pop up. Oh, the other part. If you're interested in Arab narratives,
Yes.
you can follow me at Kazoza Hamra, KAZOUZA.
All right.
Yeah.
And all of that will be the link in the description right below, ladies and
Link it
gentlemen. Nora, thank you again so much. And maybe if we could do this again in the future.
Oh, I'll happy to come here.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thank
and
you.
ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at I'm Jason Enrique on all social media platforms. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube at Jason Enrique. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. This has been the First Class, Second Place podcast. We out.
Bye. That's it.